Happy 2026. We are getting back to our weekly new book releases today with the first of January's releases. And this does have a lot. Most of the weeks of January, I think I was able to find a good bit. I'll go ahead and apologize, though, for the fact that my voice sounds a bit froggy. I got my throat lozenges and the hotish coffee that realistically will not mesh well together in flavoring, but whatever. I'm Morgan if this is your first time here, and there's a lot of books to go over this week, so I didn't want to miss it, even if my voice is going in and out. So I will have them time stamped by genre that we talk about, and let's go ahead and dive into this week's new book releases. Starting out in fantasy this week, we have the next in the Wayward Children series. I think this is book 11. I could be wrong on that one, though. That's Through Gates of Garnet and Gold by Shannon McGuire. This one is following Nancy again. It says, after Nancy was cast out of the halls of the dead and forced to enroll at Eleanor West's School for Wayward Children, she never believed she'd find her door again. And when she did, she didn't look back. She disappeared from the school to resume her place in the halls, never intending to return. Each book in this series follows a child who found their doorway to the world that they're actually supposed to be in and meant for. But it's something different in each one. You're always following different characters. Sometimes you're in our world in Eleanor West School, and sometimes you're following these characters in their other world through their doorway, pretty much. And it goes back and forth in that mannerism. Then we have a sequel in the Book of Holt series, A God of Countless Guises by Bradley P. The first book in this series was The Dragons of Deepwood Fen. It follows Lorelei Aurelius is the smartest inquisitor in the mountain city of Acronis. When a mysterious tip leads her to a clandestine meeting between the church and the hated Red Knives, she uncovers a plot that threatens not only her home, but the empire itself. In one line to describe this book, The God of Countless Guises, is, long ago, the elder gods devised a brutal contest, a game of ascension where contestants gain power by killing their own. The prize, godhood. Now that game is starting once again. This series sounds very intriguing. It needs to go on one of my many, many lists. Many. From there, we're going to move into YA fantasy. The first one up is Dragon Cursed by Elise Kova. This is going to be the first in a new duology. The moment you see a dragon is usually your last. Since the dragons emerged along with the scourge that ravaged our lands and people, there's only one human city that remains standing, Vingard. But the hellfire from above is nothing compared to the threat from within, for there is no worse fate than being dragon cursed. Slowly and excruciatingly, you'll be turned into a mindless beast who destroys everything and everyone you love. Any of us could be tainted, and any of us could be lying. Any of us could be caught and killed by the authorities. Considering all the books lately that have been like dragon bonding and, we love dragon riders and stuff, and this one is a different turn on it. I like it. Then we have The Swan Starter by Roshani Chachki. Prince Eris knows that marriage means murder. Thanks to a poorly worded wish to a sea witch, all one needs to rule the island of Malus is the heart and hand of the kingdom's heir. Historically, this has been construed quite literally. Thus, Eris expects the day after his marriage and murder, he will wake up as a sentient tree alongside the rest of his predecessors. Until he meets Demzella, a veritas swan. Demzella's song rings out the truth. Forced into hiding, Demzella strikes a deal. Eris will provide her with safekeeping in exchange for her truth-telling song to sort through his potential brides. But of course, they will grow close and things will happen. This one might fall more into that new adult range than straight YA. Time and other reviews will have to tell. Then we have the sequel to A Language of Dragons, which is historical YA fantasy, A War of Wyverns by S.F. Williamson. Who is Vivian Featherswallow? London, 1923. Dragons soar through the skies and protests erupt along the streets, but Vivian Featherswallow isn't worried. She's going to follow the rules, get an internship studying dragon languages, and make sure her little sister never has to risk growing up third class. By midnight, Viv has started a civil war. The first book seemed to be pretty well received, and if you enjoy historical and dragons, YA fantasies, then maybe you should check out the series. Our last YA is a modern thriller sort of retelling of Little Women. Beth is Dead by Katie Burnett. When Beth March is found dead in the woods on New Year's Day, her sisters vow to uncover her murderer. Suspects abound. There's the neighbor who has feelings for not one, but two of the girls. Meg's manipulative best friend, Amy's flirtatious mentor, and Beth's lion-hearted first love. But it doesn't take the surviving sisters much digging to uncover motives each one of the March girls had for doing the unthinkable. From there, we're moving into Romance with The Odds of You by Kate Dramas. Once is chance, twice is fate. Sage Collins knows a thing or two about odds. A year ago, she was a data analyst until she burned it all down to pursue her dream of becoming an author. One whirlwind bestseller and a struggling second book later, and Sage isn't sure she'll ever write a novel again. But then an accidental encounter with an irritating passenger on the flight to Comic-Con leaves Sage in an untested position. That passenger is Theo Sharp, a breakout actor on the cusp of fame, and unfortunately, the paparazzi have mistaken her for his girlfriend. But they'll keep bumping into each other, and thus twice his fate, and a relationship somehow forms from that. Then we have a paranormal sort of romance, The Shop on Hidden Lane by Jane Ann Krentz. The Harper and the Wells families have regarded each other with deep suspicion for 4 generations. The Harpers have been known to offer their psychic talents for less than legal purposes, and the powerful Wells have a reputation for playing both sides of the street. But for all the years of history and distrust between them, there is a mysterious pact binding the two. They share the responsibility for protecting a long buried and very dangerous secret. This will, of course, follow a relationship between one of each, so kind of a star-crossed thing, but I think it's also a second chance, like they were together when they were teenagers, and then events, of course, dissolved. Our romantasy for this week is Rings of Fate by Melissa De La Cruz. This is the first in the Curses and Crowns series. Erin Bellamore has no interest in being anyone's princess. She's too busy running the Raven's Beak Tavern, fending off unwanted marriage proposals and dreaming of escape. But when a brush with death and a dangerously handsome stranger upend her life, Erin finds herself bound to a bargain that could change everything. Prince Dighton has carried the cursed Rings of Fate, ancient weapons of devastating power, since childhood. The magic is killing him, and the enemies are closing in. To make the journey to reverse his curse, he needs a bride to hide his secrets. Erin wants freedom. Pretending to be his fiancée should give them both what they want. So this one does sound very intriguing. I'm hoping that it will turn out good. I see what all the first reviewers say, and maybe I'll get to it in February. Who knows? On to our thrillers then, with the first one up being The Storm by Rachel Hawkins. St. Medards Bay, Alabama is famous for 3 things: the deadly hurricanes that regularly sweep into town, the Rosalie Inn, and a centuries-old hotel that had survived every one of those storms, and Low Bailey, the local girl infamously accused of murder of her lover, political scion Landon Fitzroy, during Hurricane Marie in 1984. When Geneva Corliss, the current owner of the Rosalie Inn, hears a writer is coming to town to research the crime that put St. Maynard's Bay on the map, she is less interested in solving a whodunit than in how a successful true crime book might help the struggling inn's bottom line. But with him is none other than Low Bailey herself. Low says she's returned to her hometown to clear her name once and for all. But the closer Geneva gets to both Low and August, the more she wonders if Low is actually back to settle old scores. Very cool. And if it goes by how her other books are done, we will have the split timeline in this one. Then we have a sequel book. It's The First Time I Saw Him by Laura Dave. This is the second in the Hannah Hall series, with I think the first book being The Last Thing He Told Me. Before Owen Michaels disappears, he manages to smuggle a note to his new wife: protect her. Hannah knows exactly who Owen needs to protect: his teenage daughter, Bailey, who lost her mother tragically as a child, and who wants absolutely nothing to do with her new stepmother. As her desperate calls to Owen go unanswered, his boss is arrested for fraud, and the police start questioning her. Hannah realizes that her husband isn't who he said he was. And I don't know if this takes place over 5 years, or if the next book takes place, or if The First Time I Saw Him takes place 5 years after the first one, with the tagline, "How far would you go for a second chance?" Next is The Invisible Woman by Susan Delalo and James Patterson. No one sees her, but she sees everything. Eleanor Gilbert was once a young woman with a thriving career at the FBI. Now, decades past solving crimes with the Bureau, she is personally and professionally forgettable, which is exactly what her former FBI boss needs. He disguises Eleanor as a middle-aged nanny and casts her as an agent on the inside of his investigation into a New York art dealer suspected of ties to organized crime. But the longer she spends with it, the more her superpower of being forgettable seems to work against her. And I wonder what exactly that means. Our mystery this week is The Murder at World's End by Ross Montgomery. It's the first in the Stockingham and Pike series. Cornwall, 1910. On a remote tidal island, the Viscount of Tythe Hall is absorbed in feverish preparations for the apocalypse that he believes will accompany the passing of Halley's Comet. The hall must be sealed from top to bottom, every window, chimney, and keyhole closed off before night falls. But what the pompous, dishonest Viscount has failed to take into account is the danger that lies within. By morning, he will be dead in his sealed study, murdered with his own ancestral crossbow. All eyes turn to Stephen Pike, Tythe Hall's newest under butler. Fresh out of Bortsall for a crime he didn't commit, he is the wrong man in the wrong place at the wrong time. His unlikely ally, Miss Decimia Stockingham, the foul-mouthed, sharp as a tack, 80-year-old family matriarch. Fearless and unconventional, she relishes chaos and puzzles alike, and a murder is just a thrill she's been waiting for. Our final book this week is a historical fiction, The Star Society by Gabriella Saab. A new name, a new country, and a coveted title as Hollywood's newest rising star. By 1946, actress Ada Worthington Fox has discarded the life she left in war-torn Arnhem, where she worked for the Dutch resistance before Gestapo imprisonment prompted her to flee after release. But that life is thrust back into spotlight when Ingrid, the sister she believed dead, shows up on her doorstep. Politically minded Ingrid escaped the Nazi invasion of Arnhem and fled to Washington, D.C., where she became a private investigator. Now she's been sent to root out communist influences in Hollywood. Her target, Ada Worthington Fox, the sister she long thought lost to her. Ingrid must hide her true purpose as she shields Ada from sneaky reporters, damaging rumors, and increasing threats, all while fighting to uncover which side her sister is truly on before Ingrid's efforts to help her are too late. So is the story of two sisters at this point in time. That's all on my list for this week. I hope it all sounded okay. And I would love to know if maybe you plan on picking any of these up, or what your thoughts are, or if you know of any other books coming out this week that I didn't mention. Feel free to list them all in the comments down below. I just hope you enjoyed this one. You're finding something great to read today. You'll subscribe if you haven't. That way you can come back for more new books and other videos every week. I hope you're having a lovely day, finding something great to read, and I'll see you in the next one.